Play
so
it frequently.
happy to have you here and in the chair and talking to you because I get a chance to. I'm lucky enough to know you for many years, and you've been great to me. But I want to say we were at a celebration for Jimmy Buffett. That his wife Janie Buffett put together. A bunch of all Jimmy's friends were there, and everyone got up and told stories, and it was great to remember Jimmy. And there were all these. But you got up and told a story, and you crushed it. You brought the house down, and I was like, Freston, what are these stories? I'd never heard any of these stories.
That was a good story.
Yeah. Well, all these stories, but I think, I don't know if I said, or somebody said you should write a book or something. You're probably already in the middle of writing it. But these are fantastic stories where I mean, there's the craziest stuff that you had a whole life before MTV that I didn't know about. But you're a very adventurous traveler.
Yes.
Did that help you when you were creating MTV? Or?
Well, I had spent like 10 years, either traveling, a couple years traveling, and I started a business for 8 years in Afghanistan and India back in the 70s when it was a wild place. I mean, India was then like 60% of people were below the poverty line. Afghanistan was calm. It wasn't like it has been with all this warring actions going on, but it was fascinating. So I picked up, living like low to the ground, a hard scrabble kind of existence. You learn a lot of things. You learn humility, how, particularly in India, humility, tolerance of risk or wanting to take risks, and an appreciation of odd things and odd people. Yeah. And all of those things worked really well for me. That and other things when we set up MTV Networks, which I ran for 17 years, which was Nickelodeon, Comedy Central, VH1. Nick at Night, TV Land.
You took me on my first ever private plane.
That's right.
Do you remember that?
I remember that. You had just done, I think, in 2002, you'd just done the Video Music Awards hosting for us. And
yeah.
You were heading to LA for the summer, and we were heading, it was like we were all on a summer trip, and we had a plane at the time,
yeah.
corporate plane, that was living. So
I mean,
we were
MTV
off on,
was all the cool kids. I mean, that was where everyone wanted to hang out with anyone from MTV. We have people that work on our crew from MTV.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah, it was the coolest, and I go, a private plane? Are you sure, Tom? You're like, come on. It was you and Judy McGrath, and I was like, what are you doing, a private plane? I think I was.
Well, you
like,
had a guitar and a lot of CDs. We were doing Skinner and Neil Young.
Yes, I was playing music. Like, I thought it was like a party time. I was like, let's pop champagne and let's go for it. I'm like, private plane, let's go. And you're like, I guess so, Jimmy. You were very nice to me. You humored me. Yeah.
It was a good flight.
But I mean,
didn't want it to end.
But what do you remember about the fun? Those I feel like those days aren't really around, where they have corporate jets going around. MTV was a blast. Like, I loved going into like rehearse, and everyone loved each other, and everyone was making jokes and laughing. It was like a party.
Yeah, we had a unique company. I mean, we had probably the worst dressed group of people going to any building in Manhattan.
Yeah.
There was no one worse dressed than us, but it was about, taking risks, pushing the envelope, doing edgy stuff. If something didn't work, do something else. And it was fun. And I had a great team with me, Judy McGrath and John Sykes and others. And we stuck together for like 10 years. And, it was sort of the heyday of cable TV. This was sort of before the digital thing really arrived. And
I remember some kids had MTV, and I was so jealous because I did not have MTV. But I wanted my MTV, which must have changed everything for the channel. It's someone saying, I want my MTV.
Well, when we started, cable was mostly just out in the Midwest. New York, LA, they didn't have any cable. And we were only in a few cable systems. And cable operators didn't want to add MTV because it cost 10 cents a home. They didn't want to pay that. They thought it was like, they were kind of Elvis fans. They thought we were like a tool of the devil or whatnot. So they wouldn't add us. But we knew, because I would go out into these markets, that the kids, the music fans, the people who love music were crazy about us. First time I went to Tulsa, the first time I ever saw it, people were standing in bars like watching, it was like they were watching the Knicks game or something, but they were just standing there watching MTV. So we decided, because we sort of needed a Hail Mary pass, we were going to run out of money. The only way we were going to get more cable system was to go over their heads right to the fans. So we ripped off the I Want My Mapo campaign, which was an oatmeal cereal in the 60s.
I remember that.
So we had to get, we decided we'd do that, and we needed 3 big rock stars. It said Mick Jagger, Pete Townsend, and David Bowie. We needed to get them holding our logo, sort of validating us, saying, I want my MTV. Call your cable company and want my MTV. So it really worked. I pulled the David Bowie card.
How did you get Bowie to do it?
Well, I asked his manager, and she said, well, he's skiing in Stade, Switzerland.
Okay.
I said, all right, we're heading there. You know, I took a 35 millimeter crew. He'd do it, but he wanted to ski down the mountain and then do a swish. He had it all worked out. He was in his Let's Dance phase. He really looked great.
Yeah.
And
Bowie did it.
Bowie did it. He came down the mountain. He did it. And it was a memorable day for me because at the end of the day, he said, well, what are you doing later, Tom? Like, you know, I'm living like in a youth hostel with the crew.
Yeah.
I said, nothing. He says, why don't you come to the Palace Hotel and we'll take a sauna together?
You and David Bowie?
Yeah. I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, that's dope. Well, I'm in. Let's do it.
I'm in. So I went back and told everyone else, I said, you losers, I'll see you later.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm going to hang with Bowie, man.
So we go to the spa. You know, this is like the Grand Dam Hotel in Stade. And I meet him. We, you know, got towels on. We go into the sauna. And there's only one other person there. And he's up in this like little shelf up in the top. And I sort of squint. It's Paul McCartney.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, so the three of us sat there for like, I don't know, 20 minutes or so. I'm throwing water on the rocks. And they're at...
Only you could this happen.
They're all asking me questions like, what is MTV?
Yeah, no one even knows what it is at
early
this
in the
point.
game, yeah. So
I remember the
that was
Mick one too.
Yeah.
Because he's just the coolest, and he's just saying, "I want my MTV,"
That was
and I
it.
was like, "Wow!" And Pete Townsend.
Yeah.
And that was one you got everything.
We got them all, and then, you know, we would go market by market by market, and never fail. If there was like 10 cable operators in a market, after 3 weeks of this advertising, they all surrender, put up the white flag, and we'd be on. We did that for 2 years, and we got up to like, you know, 60, 70 million homes, and we were in business.
I mean, but what you've done for music and pop culture, I mean, the first reality show was MTV, The Real World.
Yeah, and that's
you.
Yeah, that started out as we wanted to do with Fox. Fox had just started the Fox network, and they were doing Beverly Hills 90210. And I was like, we should, you know, young people like to see, and let's do a soap opera ourselves. But I looked at the budget and said, you know, we have to have writers. We have to pay people.
Yes, you have to pay
We
people.
couldn't afford it. So they went back. Doug Herzog went back to Boone and Murray. They were these two producers, and they said, well, you know, let's just put them in a loft down in Soho and stick some cameras in the wall and let's watch them live their lives, and then we'll post it together into episodes.
Oh my gosh.
And that was sort of the birth of reality TV. Wow. And you know,
Amazing.
it wasn't like a brilliant idea or anything. It's just because we were too cheap. We didn't have any money.
Yeah.
But now look what it's wrought.
Oh my gosh, it's everything. It's amazing. I can't tell you, everybody, if you want a great book with great stories in here, and it's just positive and also shows the struggles and what you actually go through and just being a good guy, what you get. I mean, you really are a good guy, and I just want to say this on camera. You always supported me, and thank you so much for everything.
Well, it's a two-way street. Thank you, Jimmy. You're the best. Thank you.
Tom Preston, everybody. His new memoir, Unplugged, is available right now. We'll be right back with more Tonight Show, everybody. Come on back.